Welcome everyone to the latest High Street Conversation series from ATCM. Over the past few weeks, we've had some really useful conversations and some good stuff's come out of these as well. So hopefully this afternoon's session will be just as good. Okay, we've only got a short agenda today because what we want to do is really have a roundtable discussion about how the current restrictions are affecting us throughout the UK and Ireland. So hopefully everybody will get an opportunity to speak this afternoon. We've got 55 minutes, but I think that should give us time to get some good stuff out as well. This afternoon we've also got two presentations, one by Polly Barnfield from Maybe, and the presentation is about understanding the sentiment of Christmas shoppers. So this is a presentation, Polly, on your Christmas consumer survey, which covers customer safety and behaviour. And then the second one is from Jackie Mulligan, which is called A Digital Christmas. And it's from Jackie's from Shop Happy, and she'll give us her 5 key tips for Christmas, including events and this year's must-have gifts. Is that correct, Jackie?
Yeah, that's right.
Good. I'm looking forward to that one myself because I haven't done any Christmas shopping yet.
Well, neither have I. High five.
So, and then we'll go on to our roundtable discussion this afternoon, which will be about the current issues and challenges, and I suppose opportunities that we've got at the moment with the current restrictions, and also to find out about where you are in the current tier system as well. How is this affecting your businesses in both the daytime and evening economies? And what do you think both local and national governments should be or could be doing to support us, especially with our recovery plans? So we'll go on to that. But I think before I do that, I'll just give a quick overview of our housekeeping this afternoon as well. So if we could all just stay on mute if we're not talking, if we can stop some of the feedback happening. But also, if you do want to get involved, just raise your hand either physically or digitally, or use the chat bar at the side as well. And both me and Karen will be looking at the chat this afternoon, and we'll bring you in. But when you do come in, obviously, just introduce yourself and tell us where you're from as well. So if we're okay to move on, I'll bring in Polly from Maybe to start your presentation.
Hello, I've just renamed myself Polly. I don't know how to manage to call Nigel Jobson, but I've been renamed. Feel better. Hello, I'm going to share my screen. Have everything working? Look, brilliant. Great to be here with you all. Here we go. Brilliant. So yes, we asked a bunch of shoppers, about 14,000 shoppers at the end of September, how they felt about Christmas. And as Jackie pointed out to me back then, she was surprised by how many people had said they're already Christmas shopping. And it is a caveat, it is a Facebook audience, so it's a very consumer-led audience. And I'm going to tell you about what we've now discovered. We asked the same bunch of questions to, I think we've got 11,000 responses over the last few days. And I'm going to share with you what people are saying about Christmas now. Just to talk through how we get to this data. So Maybe is a partner of, one of the partners on the High Street Task Force, and what we do for them is we've been working with Google through lockdown to identify 2.9 million organisations in the UK, and we go back every day and collect their Facebook, Twitter and Instagram data, and then make it available. So you all, through the High Street Task Force dashboard, will be able to access summary data that helps you understand how people feel about your place. And obviously what's really, these are very challenging times, and right now being able to understand what people are saying and how they're communicating is really important. And we're now working on linking all of that data with Visa and MasterCard data too, which ultimately means that everybody can have much greater transparency over the efficiency of what they're doing to promote place and how it's driving spend in a place. I'm going to talk more about that in a moment, but first let's look about Christmas. And there are some very striking messages here that despite everything that's going on, our report says that for 67% of people is Christmas as usual. And this is, as I said, was a campaign that's been run through Facebook Messenger, so it's a very consumer-led audience. The number of people who told us that COVID-19 guidelines would not change their Christmas plans has dropped again by 4%. I don't think in line with the changing restrictions. And the number of people concerned about safety on the high street has grown from 57% to 61%. But the message remains the same, which is the majority of people have started Christmas shopping already or are planning to start any day now. And this really goes to the heart of what we talk about at Maybe, which is that it's all about communication. Everybody's walking around with one of these in their hand, whether it's, I have a background, it won't let you show anything. One of these in their hand, a phone. And that is their window on the world. It's how they see life. And whether it is they're seeing something and going buying it, or whether they're ordering it or they're booking it, it's got to be a connected conversation. And when 32% of people say they'll shop local this Christmas, I think that's A, it's grown since last time we surveyed, and B, it's quite a positive. Dog's getting a mad minute. But it's an opportunity for businesses to talk to people much more. With all of these questions, they're binary. People only answer one thing as they went through the survey. And one thing was very clear was when you actually asked people about experience, they're all very keen to go to a place if they possibly can. And so when you started to say what will make you go and enjoy your Christmas shopping, is all driven by what you could do, Christmas windows. It was actually a lot of quite small things that were going to make a big difference to the experience about where people chose to shop. And so I think there's still a massive opportunity, assuming we're all allowed out of our homes, to do simple things and communicate well to get people to want to come in. But it has to be driven around communication. And that's very much what Maybe is all about. It's about saying, how can we help businesses and places communicate well with their shoppers? And we provide a set of tools that makes it super simple for everybody to communicate within a place and amplify each other's message. I think what's really interesting right now is we've got a number of clients we're working with who are yet to launch Christmas, but actually shoppers are already Christmas shopping. Shoppers are already very much thinking about Christmas. And the message we're really saying is that you need to start amplifying each other's messages, and you need to start talking about Christmas, because in a shopper's mind, they're worried that they won't be able to go shopping, and they've started already. So the Maybe platform is all about being able to see that data, understand that data, make sure every penny you spend delivers the result you want. And we've got countless case studies of independent retailers here at the moment who are learning to use ads really well and are driving extraordinary amounts of revenue through learning how to use Facebook ads well. There's a lady recently who previously just done Instagram stories. She started retargeting the people that are seeing those stories, and she's an extra £1,000 a day up in her stores. Now that is game-changing amount of money. It meant that she, from a local authority perspective, she opened up 3 of her stores rather than any one of them. But she wouldn't have been able to do it had she not learned new tools. So we're about saying it's about data, it's about getting access to training, and we do a massive training both through written articles and I seem to spend my life on Zoom. And we've got a great team who are all experts in their own field. We're doing an amazing series on Facebook ads at the moment in our Facebook group, which people are saying is changing their businesses. And we've just, as I said, mentioned, I'll go over this very quickly, launched, added a bit onto the Maybe platform. That means every Visa and MasterCard transaction in a place can now become a point of sale communication. And we think in the future of place, this ability to be able to communicate with people at the moment they make a transaction is an extraordinary opportunity, because it means you can communicate in real time with local shoppers. But importantly, it doesn't require them to have a new app or you to deploy any new technology. It uses existing Visa, MasterCard and Messenger technology, and we're shortly integrating WhatsApp as well. But the opportunity it opens up for places to be able to talk to people when they're in a place is really key. Because going back to that Christmas data, it's all about how do you tell people what you've got to offer them, and how do you offer them the right thing to make them make the decision to come to you. Because we're all going to do Christmas, but we're just doing it differently, and it's very easy to let them go and do it the lazy way, the Amazon way, which we don't want. We want them to come and spend the money with you. So local rewards are going to be deployed across any town within days, and it immediately makes the whole place shoppable and discoverable. We're taking all of the data that we've collected from Google Maps and all the Instagram data we've collected, and meaning that regardless of what retailers actually put onto the system, we've got all of the Instagram data available for that place. So it means shoppers can discover a place very quickly, and you can talk to them when every transaction happens. So as a place, you can start to deliver the right message at the right time. So we're very excited. It means that you've got a national programme that rewards shoppers for high street spend. It's not place specific, it works everywhere. So if I register in Putney, it works in John O'Groats. So as a shopper, you register once, and as retailers, it's super simple to get started for retailers. So as a place, you can put but make your place marketing work really, really quickly. And it starts to reveal the performance of all marketing campaigns from all high street stakeholders very, very fast, in a way that's not been seen before. We're working with a range of places across the UK, and as I say, it's about training businesses to do business differently, because it's time to embrace change. Consumers have left the pitch with the ball, the digital ball, so to speak, right now. And today, only 28% of independent retailers are active on social media, against 66% of consumers who spend 3 hours a day. And if you want those consumers to come and spend money in your towns, you have got to have a way to communicate with them. We're here to help make that possible. I'm really passionate about it, and we don't want to see independent businesses not being able to reach consumers because they're changing their habits, but they do actually still want that physical experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Polly. We'll take some questions now, if that's okay, and I'll kick off with the first one. I think you're quite right. Christmas will happen. It's definitely going to happen, and that's what people want. But do you have any indication through your research if people are just going to come in, like you say, they'll have pre-planned their shopping this year as well by using the phone or tablet or whatever in the house? Do you think we'll get what we're seeing now, whereas people are coming in for a short space of time and not having that town or city centre experience? So they'll come in for 2 hours, get what they need, and go home? That's
a great question, Kenny. I think people are very mission based. But as people, we like to discover, right? And so very much the technology we've delivered with local rewards is about making that moment of I bought something, oh, I didn't know that dress shop was down there. Or I didn't know that person was offering that great sticky bun today. Because you've got to make places discoverable. You've got to basically achieve what Amazon have done, which is if you like this, you might like that. And how do you make that happen in a physical experience? Because we all like that experience. We like discovery. So how do we make technology make places more shoppable, more discoverable, and whilst keeping it safe?
Thank you. Okay, has anybody else got anything for Polly? Karen, I can see you.
You think I was new to Zoom, would do the way
I do that all the time. I do that. It makes me feel so stupid.
Yeah, in the past, Polly, we've seen lots of offers like Black Friday. It was easier to sort of pinpoint the days where Debenhams weren't having a Blue Cross and all that sort of stuff to try and drive footfall. Do you think we'll see the same level of offers this year, do you think? And will Black Friday play a big part in this?
That's a very, very interesting question. Again, I haven't gone through all the survey data. We'll send it to everybody on Basecamp next week. We haven't revealed all the data yet, but it's very, very clear that people are more concerned about safety than price. So price matters, but there's actually a really level split between price, locality, and safety. And so, where local can win is where it communicates the offer and it talks about safety. So there's a really fine balance between not showing me it's all about safety, because that's not very attractive. But I don't want deals. Deals is not what's going to bring me in, as much as me knowing it's safe and it's local, and the offer's right. So it is true place marketing, more than ever. If you like, what this has done is it's put the microscope on it. You've got to say it's safe. You've got a real opportunity with local, because people are not going to go far afield. But you've got to give me the right offer.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because it'll be interesting, like normally we would be battling against our retail parks as well as, people that are buying a lot of stuff on the internet and trying to encourage people in. But if the retail parks start to struggle, and I think I've seen the footfall figures for our local one here, which is in the top 10 in the UK. They're struggling because simply about capacity and the fact that Marks and Spencer's does get too crowded and people don't like it. They do want to stay away. So it doesn't matter what promotions are going to put on there to drive people in. If it doesn't feel right, you're not going to go. And I think you're dead right on that. I think I'd be interested to see what comes out at the end of all of this.
And I think it's the slightly more authentic experiences. It's people want, we're now craving connections with human beings because we're not allowed to do that, are we? So, where you can offer slightly more traditional, it's not high cost stuff. It's stuff that makes, communicate with me, tell me why I want to come and spend time in your space. Big opportunities, I think there are huge opportunities.
Yeah, interesting.
Thanks for that, Karen. We've got John from Leeds. Good to see you, John.
We've got John from Leeds.
And nice to see that lovely T-shirt as well, I have to add. Do you want to come in?
You have to turn your mic off.
Can you hear me now?
We can now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Kenny. Yeah. Loving it. Thanks, Polly. I've got two questions and then one question for Kenny as well. Kenny, I'll give you some time to think about it. Clearly, you're in tier 3. There is some talk in West Yorkshire about us going to tier 3 potentially this week. So I'll be keen to hear your views on where you are now in the approach to Christmas, what confidence is like in the city, and whether there's any key learning points for those of us that are on the margins and about to potentially go into tier 3. For Polly, thank you. Your initial document was very, very useful around whether we had Christmas or not this year. I mean, that's been well read in Leeds. The question that's come out of that is around the balance between bricks and mortar and online this particular Christmas. That's a central question. I get the fact that people are shopping more local, and of course, obviously, I've got to be selfish. I represent the city centre as the economic hub. So retailers are trying to gauge what the balance would be like between what they will get in terms of people coming out to shop and people staying in and shopping online. What we are witnessing already is that Christmas shopping has started. People aren't waiting. They're already buying stuff. Our footfall is tracking about minus 50% at the moment and has been for some time. So it's not great. It's better in the outlying districts, but in the city centre, it's incredibly difficult. So I'll be keen to hear your sense of the balance between bricks and mortar and online.
Look, I think it's very clear from the data, a lot of people are planning to shop online. But I think 58% said they're going to shop online. But when you start digging into the data, they still want to go and look at, they still want to go and have a Christmas physical shopping experience as well. And I think the opportunity has to be around communication of what the offer is, what's available. And that's why we've gone all guns blazing on the integration with Visa and MasterCard to be able to communicate with shoppers in a place at the point that they're spending, because then you've got the opportunity to increase dwell and increase spend. It's that simple, isn't it? And I think one of the things we're also learning around that is that it's not about the offers so much as the ability to communicate with shoppers when they're in a place. So particularly because shoppers are safety driven, to be able to communicate about what the queues are like, or whatever the thing is that's blocking people right now. You have to be able to be incredibly agile about the way you communicate, because it's in the moment communication that I think is going to win this war. People are, if they're allowed to go out, they're going to want to go out and they're going to want to be able to shop. And while they're there, you've got to be able to have the tools to make sure they spend safely as much as possible, because that's key to ensuring there's a good retail experience in that place. And so that's where our focus is, if that makes sense. You can't, people are going to shop online this Christmas. But I mean, and I have to confess that once upon a time, and I'll never forget it, I did an all Amazon Christmas and it ruined my Christmas. I felt awful. It was horrible. What I got was dreadful. And I think that, there may be some people that do it this year, but will never go back. So, who knows? And I know Jackie will have a lot to say on that. But, we've got to box as physical retailers and managers of place. you've got to become much more digital. You've got to think, how can digital not be my enemy, but how can digital be the thing that gets customers to spend more money when they're with me? And how do I use those tools and ensure that my retailers are using the tools to come spend money with me? Remember, every one of your national retailers will only talk about their website. They'll never talk about the centers in Leeds. And your job is to find out how can you pick up that content and repurpose it so that it makes people think, I'm going to come to Leeds. And once they're in Leeds, that you can make sure every transaction becomes another transaction, because that's what makes the percentage point changes. That's what will save jobs and make retailers the difference between a good Christmas and a poor Christmas.
Okay, John, do you want me to come in on the question that you posed of me?
Yes, please. That'd be good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Liverpool were the first, our city region was the first area to go into tier 3, which was just 2.5 weeks ago now. So we're going into week 3. So we'll have our review in just over a week's time. Now, positively, our COVID figures are going in the right way now, so they're decreasing. But disappointingly, our hospital admission rates are still quite high. So what that decision will be in 2 weeks, we don't really know. You know, we can only sort of hope and pray that, you know, it may be relaxed, but I can't see that happening. So when it was announced that we'd gone into tier 3, things that pretty much went overnight was our Christmas market, our Christmas ice village. Both of those bring huge footfall into Liverpool as well. But couple that now with the restrictions in other areas, so, you know, outside of the city region, you know, we rely heavily on people coming in from North Wales. We rely heavily on people coming over to watch football from the likes of Ireland. So all these markets have now gone as well. So we're trying to reach out now to people from within to get back into town now and do their Christmas shopping there. Well, like you just said there, Liverpool's no different to Leeds. We've seen our footfall dropping off now as well. And again, you know, some of the other sectors as well, the restaurants have been allowed to stay open, but they're now being affected. So some of them are closing voluntarily because they haven't got that support mechanism of the pubs and bars. So people don't really want to come out and stay in one venue all night and have something to eat and stay in there to drink. So that's not really helping either. So it is tough, but I think we'll be the first one to review as well. So, you know, the rest of the country and beyond will look at that, I suppose. Is there anything else that you wanted to know on that?
No, that's very useful, Kenny.
Are you on the verge of tier 3 now?
Yeah, well, I've just come off a Zoom call with our retailers and hospitality kind of sector, and we're talking about Christmas. But actually, the biggest challenge for us, we can't plan ahead. We're in a serious position in terms of our hospitals. Our acute beds are full. We're back to levels of April. The infection sort of track behind that is worse. So we know we'll get a decision probably by this weekend that will probably be in tier 3, mainly because the health situation is dire, and that's a key factor for the government. I understand that there's some sort of a menu of options, rather perversely, in terms of which type of tier 3 you get to go into and what they can do to help. But the reality is, I think we're getting geared up and ready for tier 3, and there is some panic even before the announcement. And I think when the announcement is made, the impact on Christmas is going to be significant.
It certainly is. I also agree with that. Some of the options when you go into tier 3 can be confusing as well. So obviously when Liverpool went in, our gyms were instructed to close immediately, but then when Manchester went into tier 3, their gyms could stay open. We've now had a reverse decision, so our gyms are back open. But the likes of children's play centres, they're still closed. You know, and some of those operators are saying, you know, is there a real difference? I mean, a children's play centre, they're saying could be described as a kids' gym. You know, there's still lots and lots of confusion out there about where you actually sit when you go into it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if I could just bring Lisa in. Lisa's got a follow-up question on online shopping. Do you want to come in, Lisa?
Yeah, thank you, Kenny, and you may have a comment on this as well. But I was wondering from Polly in terms of the data you're seeing on social media. So, you know, prior to COVID, we were pleased to see that some national chains were allocating the sales of click and collect to the local store, which is really useful. And then during COVID, we helped, as a number of other places did, help to get independents an online e-commerce presence, because that meant that we could still, you know, shop locally in some cases. And that was particularly true for like food box deliveries, but it then was also helpful for retail. So I'm just thinking about the tier 3 areas. Are you seeing anything on you know, from your data that shows that this is useful, helpful, being done? I'm just, you know, wanting to make the most of this for everyone, you know, in terms of shopping locally, even if it has to reluctantly be online. Can we still make it local?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Lisa. One of the things that we're working with on landlords is looking at how we can use this new technology to better track the halo effect of stores. So to be able to understand what the people that buy in store, are they also buying from those retailers online? And then, you know, with events like this, you can start to understand how what's the impact on the data, because there's a lot of work being done around the work of the impact of a store and the halo effect on e-commerce. And I think, you know, in understanding the future of place and rent and how those things work, that is critical data in that mix, and it's something that's very much in our focus at the moment. Do I have all the answers right now? I don't, but it's very clear. There's a very clear link, and it's something that we're working on. Did that answer your question? Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, it's a journey, isn't it? But thank you. No, that's really helpful.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to share anything we've got.
Okay. Is there anybody else got any further questions for Polly or comments? No?
Thank you all for having me.
Thanks very much, Polly. That was really useful. That was very interesting. So going on now to Jackie. Are you with us, Jackie?
I am.
Thank you very much.
So I'll just
I'm really interested in this one, I have to say.
All right, cool, no pressure. Okay, I will try and just get my stuff off. Sorry, I was totally absorbed by that discussion with Polly. Just on a quick thing whilst I pick up my slide presentation, there it is, right, is when you were talking, Lisa, about online and e-commerce, things we've seen over the lockdown as Shop Happy is 40% of our users were under 34 and 40% were over 50. And why I think that's quite important is basically, can everybody hear me? Sorry, it's my computer's now crashing. That's helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, you can hear.
Cool, right. 40% were over 50. So what we saw were people who wanted to stay connected to their friends they know, particularly in sort of smaller towns, who wanted to shop, but also people who couldn't get a supermarket slot, discovering the high street. So that's what we were observing over that period. And now, and there's another piece of data which I've always found very interesting in terms of the halo effect of online and social, building on what Polly said, was prior to COVID, you know, when we used to meet in person and all that stuff, you know, back then. I went to a tech retail conference and Sainsbury's were talking about the halo effect. And what they said is they looked at the spend of a customer who hadn't gone online, a customer who had looked at online and gone in store, and a customer who had gone online, gone on social and gone in store. So person one, who doesn't do any online, spends X. Person two, who goes on, looks at the online store and goes into the store, spends 2.4 times what the original customer spends. And the person who connects up with them on social and in the online store spends 3.1 times what the customer goes. So that just reinforces the importance of that digital right now. Is so important for influencing, because we've got to work harder than ever to get people back in, whether it's communicating on social media that it's safe to do so, or just showing them what they can actually buy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get to my slides and we'll touch on some key trends. So can you see my slides? Yeah, cool. Sorry, everybody's on mute. So I'm like, why isn't anybody speaking?
I can
so It is. I do get what Polly's saying about that real. What this whole situation has done is kind of reinforced how important social interaction is. We've reconnected at a personal and social level behind screens, and we exchange more by looking behind each other's backgrounds of what we've got on there if we haven't got virtual settings, and seeing a whole rounded individual. So although it's digital, it doesn't have to be impersonal. And Amazon is a soulless, faceless, clutterful, horrible experience, as far as I'm concerned. It is, but people do it because it's convenient and it's easy. So what you get with Amazon is a transaction, but what you want to have in your local community is different. So we think it is obviously going to be a digital Christmas. And we do think it is the season to shop local, more so than ever. I think things like climate change were already helping the high street in terms of people understanding the connection between how they shop, changing the planet as well as where they shop. But also that we've had initiatives like the recent Rashford free school meals, local businesses coming to the fore. So that whole sort of thing around localism and community has really come to the fore. So I think it's all to play for places if they emphasize these messages. So it is the season to shop local, but we have to make it personal, we have to make it inspiring, and we have to make it easy. Don't force me to come out to a high street. I'm shielding and I'm not going to. But do make it easy for me to spend where my heart is. So all I'm going to focus on is 5 things that we are reinforcing and we think that should be reinforced right now, is people joining the dots. So at the moment, every time you put the telly on, there's an Amazon ad telling you to get Christmas done, get it done quickly. That's because there's a growing emphasis on localism and community. So better you get that spend out right now. Well, we can also enable people to shop fast in their local high streets. It doesn't always have to come from a logistics company in a warehouse, but help people join the dots between the point of the school meals, local businesses came to the fore. The support you got during lockdown, local businesses came to the fore. When you couldn't get the supermarket slot, your corner shop was right there. So helping people join the dots has got to be really important in that messaging. We are educating people to make the best decisions for their communities. One of the things you can say is if you spend money at Christmas, you know your businesses are more likely to be there in the new year. Want a happy new year? Spend at Christmas. So joining the dots is really important, and we'll be putting out a lot of messaging, and of course, you're always welcome to share, because a lot of the stuff we put out is sometimes just stickers and things, so it doesn't necessarily have our branding on it. Please share the messages. But joining the dots is really important. So Black Friday. So I was really relieved when Sarah just put out there 4% saying they're going to spend on Black Friday. I don't believe it at all. I think that there will be the impulse purchases and the desire for a cheap deal that will come forward. But I would love it if Black Friday actually turned green this year. So one of the things we're emphasising is Black Friday, make Black Friday green, shop local this year. So we're emphasising the goodwill. So any town, you don't have to be part of Shop Happy, and as town or city can join this. We've got free assets you can use, but this is make Black Friday green this year, shop local instead. And what we are collating at the moment is offers that businesses can make where if you spend local, they'll do something good in your community, whether it's donating to a mental health charity, whether it's donating to a food bank. This will help people join the dots. Do something good this year. And again, if we look at the positive sentiment that came out over the lockdown, there was something like a 20% change in positive sentiment towards local businesses. Before that, 55% of people were still saying they preferred to shop local. So reinforcing it at that moment is really important. So during Black Friday to Cyber Monday, we're asking any businesses, any towns who've got really goodwill gestures for people local spending to let us know, because we want to promote the hell out of it and provide that alternative. And if we are actually seeing 4% of people not doing Black Friday, perhaps we're beginning to see that kickback against it. Because I agree with Polly, there certainly doesn't feel like there's an appetite for the best deal. It is about safety, experience, investing in your community. And if you're trying to, create a more resilient high street, you need to reinforce those values as much as you can to get that customer change. So whatever you do, emphasize the goodwill that local customers are engaged in. The other part is embracing the browse. So Amazon is a transactional, quick hit, go, there, I've got my thing. Whatever it is like finding something, it is finding something in a warehouse that you knew what you wanted in the first place. So we talk about browsing e-commerce as being really important. It's less about the transaction and more about the discovery. So discovery is important, but also providing that convenience. So we notice so much more browsing behavior. We're seeing it on Shop Happy. So we're seeing the users going up. You know, we just, every month it goes up. We've just had a 40% increase again between last month and this month. So there's a build up of local interest. Of course, the businesses have to add more and more items. They have to enable people to browse more, but there is a genuine desire for a local alternative. The other thing is that if you are shielding, you want to have the pleasure of the browse. So we asked our shops, how much time were shoppers spending in their shop? 92% said their shoppers were spending less time in physical stores. It's hardly rocket science, is it? That would be the case. You want to get in and get out. So therefore, you have to go in with an intent to purchase something. Where are you going to find that? You're going to find it in an amazing shop window, that's for sure. But you're also going to find it on a digital shop window. You're also going to find it on Facebook when you feel desire to go because that shop is sharing what they sell. So that shop window in digital form is really important. Encouraging people to browse their local high street will influence the footfall, and browsing e-commerce is the untapped opportunity here. So it isn't just about transaction. Transaction is soulless and faceless, and we're looking for more. Gifts, Kenny, I've got your gift choices. Right, so where we're seeing specific search activity around Christmas, around home-based activities. So everybody thinks now, I'm in West Yorkshire, as John knows, so we're facing tier 3. It's half term. I was going to say half term hell, but that would be very mean to my daughter, but it is half term. So basically, home-based activities are really important. If we look at the first lockdown, baking was the big thing. I feel completely out of kilter because I never made sourdough during lockdown, but hopefully, if there is going to be a circuit breaker, I'll be there making me sourdough. Home-based activities are really growing. We've got paint-a-pot studios who are offering takeaway kits, which people can do at home. So think about your gifts, what home-based activities could be done, because we have to prepare for the worst. Home decor, people are spending far more time in their places. So your artists, your makers, people wanting to create nicer environments. If they've got money to spend and they're working from home, then let them spend it with you, but focus on maybe the home environment and what you can do to make people's place look better. And we can already see that in some of the advertising you're seeing on TV. Obviously, devices are going to be increasingly important. So electronics will be big, I'm sure, during Black Friday. But if you've got electronic shops, emphasise what deals there are or what opportunities there are to buy devices locally to stay connected. It's going to be more important than ever to get those. The other thing we noticed during lockdown was packages. Packages are really important. So even it was a beauty salon, somebody packaging up those pamper kits, etc., that would enable you to have a self-care day. Never happened for me, but anyway, you could have a self-care day and have all the pampering kit you want. So packaging things up is really important. It's not just about food, although food is really crucial. So offering Christmas dinner hampers are really important. So what can you do to aggregate your high street? You don't have to have Shop Happy to do it, but think about how you could promote an aggregated offer, a flavour. And the other thing is experiences after this. So I would call it hobbies, home and hope are key, and convenience and connection. And the hope bit is so important because none of us want to go through Christmas. Can you imagine singing Auld Lang Syne at the moment, feeling happy? I can't. So we need that hope. We need something to look forward to. So buy now, enjoy later vouchers, always good, but having things that we can do that will make us think there is a way out of this, but put a hell of a lot of longevity in your vouchers just in case. So those are some of the top picks. I'd say that if you're going to buy shares in Flour. If we're about to go into circuit breaking, all right, Flour is the new share investment, I'd say. Pick of the day, please, on behalf of a former academic in events management, stop cancelling events. There are ways events can run, and some of the traders you have in your community rely on your events. So don't cancel the events. We're working with places across the country at the moment, rescuing Christmas fairs, arts trails, all sorts of things. Now, the benefit of those digital events is they bring new audiences to your e-commerce platforms. Please don't think that a directory is the answer. It really isn't. Google's a directory, don't replicate it. It does a good job. But basically do try and enable people to have an experience of browsing the old Makers Fair, the Christmas market, whatever you can do. The challenge, we've talking to lots of Christmas market players and saying, they can use our platform, use it as part of places that we're working with. But if you've, as an example, if I'm clicking on a Christmas market and maybe one of the makers is on Etsy, and I see a great pair of earrings on Etsy. So I've done what you've done as leads or whoever, you've promoted the hell out of the fact that people can buy these earrings or whatever it is, or go to these stalls. You end up on the stall as a customer and you've seen a nice pair of earrings on Etsy. And then suddenly you have second thoughts and you go to another provider. You are anywhere else in the internet. So whatever you're doing online, you need to be locking it in to your economies. If you're spending a lot on marketing, make sure the spend is going to be local. Don't let people fire off in all directions, try to keep it in. So we're hosting many, many virtual events. We now have a virtual events coordinator because we are damned if people are going to cancel these events. Obviously have illuminations and all the amazing installations we've seen, and the whole thing that Karen was talking about in terms of Stockton was brilliant. But you think of the trade, because it's those micro businesses that are losing out right now. And those micro businesses could well be the future high street occupant if you cultivate and nurture them now. Make it personal. So, where are the personal stories? So, these are the friendships that were made prior to COVID. Make new friends, keep the old. One is silver, the other is gold. Who was already coming to the high street, keep that personal connection with them. But who are the new players and how can we make it more personal for them? So the personal things can be as simple as asking your local businesses to make it extra personal, because we need to see the differentiator. What is the difference between a cardboard box with a smile on it coming through my door and me buying from a local business? If it's still a cardboard box, it isn't any fun. So I ordered some bunting for my latest purchase, which was the camper van, because I used to travel around a lot and I miss traveling around to all sorts of places. So I'm using a camper van until we're locked down, which hopefully will be after this weekend, John, because I've got a plan to get away, right? But in this case, I ordered some bunting for my camper van, which is very much on trend apparently. And what I got from the little maker was a thank you card for ordering that. So I obviously ordered the bunting from Shop Happy. And I got a lovely message, a personal message to say, thank you so much for ordering, in a smiley face in pen. So much better than a packing slip, so much better than a cardboard box with a smile on it. Make it personal and reinforce the human, show the human pictures behind these stories. So those are the top picks. I hope I've given you some good ideas for presents and things. We're going to be doing some more stuff, so keep watching us on social for some of the stuff we'll be doing to help you make the right present gift choices this year. Join our Black Friday campaign. It's free. We're going to give you free marketing assets to use, blogs, and we want your businesses to get listed so that everybody can see all the businesses they can support, however they can support them over that weekend, in person, online. A donation will go to a food bank, donation to a mental health charity, whatever it is. And obviously, Shop Happy is the only aggregator in the market. It is the only one that brings click and collect and delivery to your door. It is not a directory, and it is trying to change the game. So please, think about this, because the easier you make it for customers, the more influential it will be for your communities, for your businesses, and for your towns and cities. So that's all from me. Any questions?
Jackie, that was fantastic. That was really interesting. So yeah, over to the floor. Any questions for Jackie?
Karen.
Hi. Yeah, I've just put something in the chat bar there. I just wanted to say to everybody about keeping it local. Stockton again, Stockton Bid. They've actually got a branded van that they've leased for the period to do free deliveries from businesses in the town centre. So you can't argue about the fact that, it gets delivered to my door and I don't need to go out. They're making it as easy as possible for people. So if anybody wants any information on how they're doing that, it's me. So I've put the Jason's email address in the chat box there. And I've also put Jackie's details in the chat box as well for anybody. But I think that's really important. I think it's really important as well, Jackie, that we get that message out that if now more than ever, it's important to shop local, because if you don't do it, you're going to lose it. There's no
Well,
doubt.
that's so important. And again, from Polly's research on the first wave of research, what was really interesting from the maybe point was, I think it was at that point, Polly, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was around 30% of people said that they were intended to shop local at Christmas. And my heart was broken when I read that. But actually, I think the perception is because shopping local feels like it has to be a physical experience, or it has to be complicated. It can't possibly offer you the convenience of the online giants. So that's where you have to counter it. And because I'm sure there's a barrier about that it's harder somehow. So we do, you know, by aggregating at a local level, you provide that local alternative. And I do really think there's a sickness in it. Is I had, you know, I've done the Amazon thing years back and felt really disappointed with myself over it. It doesn't fill you with joy. It's not a joyful thing to do. It's just a disappointing thing to do.
Is the evidence there as well, Jackie, that says that when people do go out, that they do actually spend more?
Yeah, that was the research I was saying. It's the influence, the intent to purchase is the key. So prior to COVID, it seemed like high streets were struggling either with footfall or with footfall that wasn't going into local shops and businesses. It was going for a coffee. And then there wasn't an intent to purchase. So with social media, you can push out messages as the indies are to sort of get that intent going. But also if you show a shop window with something, it becomes part of the browsing activities. 2/3 of people were browsing before they went into physical stores prior to COVID. Now what's happening, 2/3 of people are buying online. And that's the challenge, right? It's £1 in every £3 is being spent. It's going to that will escalate because you've got the power, the might of a massive agency doing Amazon's advertising, telling us all to buy everything we need right now, get it done. Yeah. Well, actually, no, take it slow. Do what you want. Your shops are still there. Keep supporting them. And we need that alternative. And we need to collaborate to get that alternative. Otherwise, you may as well just give him the £1 trillion now.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, I do get really irritated about it.
Yeah, I also think as well, it might change some shopping habits for the better in some ways.
I think that it will if we make it easy, and that's difference. During the first lockdown, some of the essentials, you know, the grocers, the butchers were saying it's like Christmas every day because they were getting so many orders. What they were dealing with was people phoning, Facebook messaging, sending them a WhatsApp, going in, you know, somebody coming in, picking up, and they couldn't cope with it. Were they really busy or were they really inefficient? I don't know. But there were people waiting on the phone for an hour to make an order with a local butcher. We have a classic where this local butcher was like, oh, I'm fine, I take these orders and it's easy. And then every order he was getting was 33 quid for one of his isolation boxes. And then actually when we put the isolation box onto Shop Happy and he had all the add-ons, which you can add on online, he was getting £50 to £60 through the checkout. Give people all the options, but managing it will be a lot easier if, you know, if they've got a process. And for the customers, the behaviour won't stick if you don't continue to keep it easy for them. Yeah. That's our learning from it. And our learning has also been, I used to be, as anybody who knew me pre-COVID, and was that I was always very much anti-delivery. I was a real bloody idiot. Because actually, what I realised during lockdown from the messages we were getting is I haven't been able to access my high street for years because of mental health issues, disability, whatever it was. So the delivery is an important component of it, but do put a charge to it if you can, because especially when lockdown restrictions and or whatever we're in start to ease, because you do want to influence the footfall, because absolutely, as Polly's saying, if people are in town and you're encouraging that sort of discovery, they're going to spend far more than they will just by one order online.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Jackie. That was really interesting. Just conscious of time now because we've probably got less than 10 minutes to go. But I think at this point, if we do go out to the floor, and maybe it could be quite interesting if anyone's on from Wales, Ireland and Scotland, just to give an indication of what's happening there. Julianne?
I suppose I'll come on from the Northern Ireland perspective. We're now into the second week of our well, it's near enough a full lockdown, but it's not, because retail's still open, but all hospitality is closed. Schools are closed this week, but they're going back again on Monday. So there'll be schools back on Monday, but the semi-lockdown will still be happening for another 2 weeks. So there's still a lot of confusion. Although I do have to say, I went into our town centre there at lunchtime. Our major department store had put on their first, they call them Thumping Thursdays, which they normally don't put on until November time. The store was packed, I have to say. And you do talk about the early Christmas shopping. Yes, that is a factor. But I'm just conscious, you know, we keep talking about this early Christmas, but I think it has always been there every year, because there really only is 2 more paydays until Christmas. So normally it would have started by now, but it would have been more towards the city visit rather than the rural town visit, which we are. So the cities are actually losing out on that early shop, but the locals maybe are benefiting from that early local shop. And you do talk about the Amazon, I mean, the ads on TV at the minute for early Black Friday now, early Black Friday. I've always been against the Black Friday idea anyway, because why should you discount early when people are going to buy anyway? So if this kind of knocks Black Friday into touch this year, happy days for that, I think. But from, I suppose, from an Ireland point of view, we're still not convinced that the 4 weeks that we're going to be in lockdown is going to be enough, because we're now talking about maybe it's going to extend to 6, maybe it's going to extend to 8 weeks, because Ireland have gone into lockdown until the first week in December. So there's where you have the difference. And our cross-border towns will probably not know what to do, because the borders effectively have been closed, and there would have been an awful lot of cross-border trade at this time in terms of Christmas. So there is the effect of that, which we need to take account of. But yeah, I do think the local thing is going to be paramount this year, and I think our traders through lockdown have really come to realise that. A lot of them are now doing online click and collect. An awful lot of our small boutiques are doing it's nearly like a weekly fashion show that they put on. This is all our new stock this week, but please come into the store to buy it if we can. The other big thing that happened today on our local BBC radio station was there was a whole conversation on Christmas lights, and they were trying to whip up a storm in terms of council should not be spending all this money on Christmas lights. And I think that's just opened a can of worms for a lot of people. Why are they spending the money on this? They should be spending it on providing free meals and this type of thing. But there's the whole other argument is that if we don't put up the Christmas lights, there's no reason for people to come in and browse the shop windows. There's no reason for people to come in and do the local thing. And there is a health and well-being issue to this as well, in that we need to have a little bit of good cheer. So that has just opened up today. I don't know where it's going to go, because it's just it's really raised its head, and I think there'll be a few more radio phone-ins on it over the next couple of weeks, where you have one section of the population giving off stink and the other ones going, yeah, we need it. So yeah, that's the latest one to come up.
Yeah, I think we anticipated that a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? We said that, you know, people would be split on whether we should or shouldn't do Christmas lights. But again, I'm in the camp that we for people's health and well-being, we've got to do something. Otherwise, people will say that Christmas has been cancelled, and we can't afford to let that happen. Thanks for that. Anybody else? Have we got anyone from Scotland?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from Dundee. I can perhaps say a wee bit about what's happening in Scotland.
Please do.
We have just had our position on our Scottish tiers announced. So from a Dundee perspective, we are also into level 3, which is similar to the English system. So level 3 restrictions see cafes, pubs and restaurants allowed to open until 6 p.m, but only to serve food and non-alcoholic drinks. alcoholic drinks are now no longer permitted either indoors or outdoors. All leisure and entertainment venues are closed, including cinemas. No non-essential travel is allowed out with the area. So indoor exercise, which includes gyms, is also restricted to individual and not group exercise. So yeah, it's interesting times here. From my own perspective in Dundee, we're surrounded by level 2 areas, which to me makes me slightly anxious that those in my area are simply going to go across a road bridge into Fife to, socialise, do what they need to do over there. It's a really interesting time. We have a major hospital here where we take in a lot of the patients from the surrounding areas. So I think our stats are slightly skewed by that, but it is what it is. From a Christmas shopping perspective, definitely signs of people starting their Christmas shopping now. I popped out last night and it was unbelievable. The trolleys full of stuff, that crackers, Christmas cards, wrapping paper, all of these types of goods, which traditionally, well, I don't know about anybody else, but these are the sort of things I leave to the very last moment. So there are definitely people spending now, and there's a bit of anxiety amongst traders that they're shopping now, which means they're not going to get the footfall and people coming in to buy goods later in the year, in December, when traditionally is their most profitable and busiest time. So keeping a watching brief. We're obviously not doing the big Christmas lights switch on and keeping with other cities, but our traders have been very supportive in terms of what we are doing. So projections, dressing vacant unit windows, doing street trails. We're doing a virtual Christmas card in our city square so that people can wander through it. It's been designed by one of our UNESCO artists that lives locally, working with the V&A team as well to produce something that looks stunning. The Rep Theatre, who obviously aren't open at the moment, their performers will be doing some sort of pop-up shows. So they're really supportive. We are going to still have our real Christmas tree. It's just going to be switched on through the night. We're not going to have anything that attracts any kind of crowds whatsoever. And really everything is just being kept under a constant watching brief at the moment, because as things change, so do our plans, sadly.
Thanks, Sarah. That was really, really interesting. Thanks for the input. Anybody from Wales still on?
Well, Chris Edwards here from the Vale of Glamorgan Council, which is Barry, Cowbridge, Penarth, Llantwit Major. We're in the first week of the fire break here, and I must admit I went up to Barry Town Centre on Tuesday. It was extremely quiet. There's a lot of confusion about what constitutes an essential items, and some retailers tend to be selling the majority goods. Other retailers of selling only a few of their product lines. But I think from what I could fathom with my visit, a lot of people are just keeping away really. It's just food shopping only, and they are just not going into town centres due to the current fire break. That's due to end on the 8th of November, but that might be reviewed. And in light of what I've been seeing on the news recently, there may even be a UK national lockdown. So we could end up going into a 4 to 6 week continuous lockdown in Wales, which is obviously not good for the local economy or town centres.
Thanks for that, Chris. Yeah, I mean, it's really confusing what's happening in Wales. I really can't get me head around it, especially with some of the restrictions in the supermarkets and other shops as well.
I think the Welsh Government are kind of reviewing the restrictions. I think they have relaxed the opportunity to buy baby clothing.
Good. I mean, I know there's been a lot of confusion for those people on both sides of the border, really, that sort of live right on it as well, about travel and, work, education, shopping.
Not good, unfortunately.
Yeah. unfortunately. Okay, well, listen, we ran over sort of slightly, but I'd like to thank Polly again and Jackie, if she's still on.
Yes,
There
I'm
we
on.
are. There we are. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending this afternoon as well. And hopefully get to see you all again at the same time next Thursday in the next round of conversations. So thanks very much for your attendance. And
Thank
good to
you.
see Mr. Ebo as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting so well, Kenny.
Take
Excellent.
care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It's been a pleasure.
Goodbye.
Thank you.